Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. You know that little translation app on your phone? Ever wonder what's going on behind the scenes? Well, today we're going to dive right into that fascinating world. We're decoding the complex and really powerful field of translation technology. So let me ask you a question. When you need something translated, what's your first move? Do you just whip out an app? Or do you think about hiring a professional, a human translator? That's really the big question we're tackling today. Is it machine or is it human? But as you've probably guessed, it's not as simple as picking one or the other. The real story, the interesting part, is how they work together, the partnership between them. And that relationship, it's shaping the entire future of how we all communicate. So to really get this, let's start by figuring out what translation technology even means. First things first, we need to get one thing straight. We're not just talking about some simple app you download. No, this is a whole professional field, a really serious area of study with its own unique tools, its own theories, and its own big goals. Okay, so here's the more official definition. Translation technology is actually a part of natural language processing, which is, the whole science of teaching computers how to understand us, how to get human language. And it's a huge field. It covers everything from the simple grammar checker you use in your email all the way to these super complex software suites that professional translators rely on day in and day out. All right, so right at the heart of this whole field, there's this fundamental tension. You could almost call it a philosophical divide. And it all boils down to one simple question. Who's in charge? Is it the computer or is it the human? And depending on how you answer that, you end up with two totally different ways of doing things. And this slide, well, it lays out those two main schools of thought perfectly. On one side, you've got machine translation, or MT for short. Here, the whole point is for the computer to do all the heavy lifting. But on the other side, you've got computer-assisted translation, or CAT. And its goal is totally different. It's all about making a human translator faster and more consistent. It's kind of like the difference between a fully automated factory and a skilled artisan who's using really good power tools. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit on machine translation. It's not always a set it and forget it kind of deal. A lot of the time, a human still has to get involved. Sometimes they have to clean up the original text before the machine sees it. That's called pre-editing. Or, and this is way more common, they have to come in and revise what the machine spits out. And that critical final step? That's known as post-editing. This whole process has a name, Machine-Assisted Human Translation, or MHT. And you can see the workflow right here on the slide. First, the machine cranks out a first draft. Then, a human expert comes in to review it, polish it, and finalize it to make sure it's actually good. It's a great partnership, really. The computer gives you the speed, and the human brings the nuance and the accuracy. Now, let's flip over to the other side of the spectrum, computer-assisted translation, or CAT. Here, the human is absolutely in the driver's seat. The software isn't doing the translation, it's assisting the translator. Think of it like a co-pilot, right? It's feeding the human data, giving suggestions, providing these memory aids, all to make the translator's job easier and more precise. So the key takeaway here is the human is always in control. Okay, so we keep mentioning these computer tools. But what are they really? What's actually inside a professional translator's digital toolkit? Well, let's pull back the curtain and take a look. This chart right here gives us a fantastic bird's eye view of the whole landscape. You can see our two main categories we've been talking about, machine translation and computer-aided translation. But you can also see other specialized areas like localization and speech translation. For now, though, let's just focus on the tools you find under that computer-aided pillar. All right, the first tool, and honestly, maybe the most important one, is called translation memory, or TM. Just imagine for a second you had a perfect, searchable memory of every single sentence you've ever translated. That's basically what a TM is. It's a database that stores all your past work, so if you run into the same sentence again, bam, the system instantly pulls up your old translation. It saves a ton of time and keeps everything consistent. But wait, what happens if a sentence is just similar but not a perfect match? This is where a really powerful idea called fuzzy matching comes into play. As this quote from Frank Ostermal explains, this software is actually smart enough to find these partial matches. It'll show the translator how the old phrase was handled and even highlight what's different. It is an incredibly powerful feature, a real game changer. Okay, next up, another key tool, a terminology management system. The easiest way to think about this is like a special dictionary or a glossary, just for one specific project, and it's shared by the whole team.
So let's say you're translating a car manual. You've got to make sure the word carburetor is translated the exact same way on page 1 as it is on page 200, right? A TMS is the tool that makes sure that happens automatically.
So, we've looked at the two big philosophies. We've peeked inside the toolkit. But where is all this technology actually going? To understand the future, I think it helps to first look back at what the original dream was for this whole field. Way back in the early days, the big goal was something they called FAQT, which stands for Fully Automated High Quality Translation. I mean, that was the dream, right? To build a machine that could translate with all the quality, all the nuance of a world-class human translator, completely on its own. But that dream was, as our source material says, quickly abandoned. So why? Well, researchers pretty quickly realized that language is it's too complex. It's too creative. It's way too tied up in culture for a machine to ever handle it all alone. It turns out that high-quality translation, it's always needed that human touch. And that brings us right back to our two main approaches. You've got machine translation, which is all about making the computer's first draft better and better. And you have computer-assisted translation, which is all about making the human translator more powerful. But here's the thing. Today, those lines are getting really blurry. Most modern systems are actually hybrids. They'll use a machine translation engine inside a CAT tool, giving the human translator the best of both worlds. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. As AI gets more and more powerful and all these tools get more integrated, what's the end game here? Are we trying to build a machine that can finally replace the human translator? Or are we trying to build tools that will augment human skill to a level we've never even seen before? The answer to that question, well, that's going to define the future of how we all communicate across languages.